Hey friends, we're back. Let's talk bass. Let's talk low clarinets. The best clarinets as far as I'm concerned, the most fun to play, my all-time favorite. We like the low stuff around here. All right, so Etude number 1 of your All-State Audition music. The first thing that you need to know about this Etude, this is the make or break. This is what usually decides who advances onto area and who doesn't. It's the tiniest thing. It's articulation. This is the name of the game for this Etude. There are some other elements in here that we need to talk about, yes, but by far the most important thing that you must pay attention to is articulation. That's the overarching theme of this entire Etude. So I want you to take a look at it at the very beginning, okay? One thing that you can do to practice your articulation is to practice it away from the instrument, okay? Using T and ah or some other syllable type formation of sound and speech. I like to use just T's and ahs, okay? For example, in this first measure, let's flip this guy around, take a look at it real quick. I'm not technologically savvy. Laugh at me if you must, it's okay. All right, let's take a look at this first measure. All right, we've got tongue, slur, tongue, 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 slur, tongue, 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 slur. Ooh, it changes, it's in the middle now. Tongue, tongue. So what I do is I sit down with my students and together we get the metronome going. Mine's at 40. Let's slow it down just a little bit. Let's go to 30. It's got the eighth notes going. So down, up, down, up. T, 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 T. Some people like to say T's and ahs. Tia, ta, ta, tia, ta, ta, ti, 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 ti. Whatever it takes. You need to practice that. Look at how this pattern repeats itself, okay? Measures 1 and measure 3 are replicas of each other, okay? Here, you've got a tie. Now, what I tell my students all the time is if the tie confuses you for a split second, I want you to pretend like that tie doesn't even exist. Pretend it's not even there. So when you practice this, I want you to play T, 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 T. I want you to pretend like that tie is not there. I want you to do that several times till you understand that this note right here is what's important. We're going to put a little bitty accent right there. It's not really an accent, but what it's doing is it's reminding yourself to make that note important because it is important. So first you're going to play, and I'll do this for you in a moment, T, 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 T. Then you're going to take the extra articulation out, put the slur back in, but you're going to give it a pulse. T, 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 T. That's going to tell your brain that that note is important. We have to keep establishing that fact. After you've done that a few times, what you can do is just put this inside of your head. You can pretend in your head that you're retonguing that note. You can pretend that you're breath pulsing that note, but whatever you do must be in your head. I don't want to hear you actually do it. So that's what's going to give you this 3 pulses that you're wanting. T, 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 T. All right, let's put some of that together and let's play a little bit here. Got things falling off my stand all over the place. The things I do for you people. All right, so we've got our bass here. Listen to measure 1. This is your articulation. T, 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 T. Ready, set, listen, and I go. One thing that you may do in the beginning is you may accent every time you're supposed to articulate, okay? T, 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 T. But the thing is you don't want to do that when you get it to full tempo. You want it to be smooth, okay? But just keep that in mind. That's a practice tool, is accenting the articulation until you've learned it really well. Let's go back and talk about these ties now. All right, so measure 3 is where that tie is brought over to. So I'm going to start in I'm going to start on beat 4 of measure 2, and I'm going to pretend like the tie's not there. Okay, here we go. 1, and here's beat 4. So did you hear me re-articulate those notes? A, G, B flat, A, G, G, F, A, G, F. I'm going to do that several times. I'm going to move my metronome up by 5s or so until I've got it at a good solid tempo that's close to top tempo. Right now we don't need to quite be there yet. But so now we're going to pull it back down, and we're going to add the impulse or the push instead of the extra articulation. Here's beat 4. So I'm pushing those notes. A, G, B flat, A, G, F, A, G, F. Now what I'm going to do is take all of that out, but in my head I need to pick one of those tools and do it inside here. Did you hear how each of those long notes got one little tick on that metronome? That metronome is playing 8th notes, 3 pulses. For those of you who were taught pulsing, okay, then each of those is going to feel like a dotted quarter note. They're going to have 3 pulses there. All right, now let's jump down to something a little different. Let's talk trick fingerings for a moment. Look at measure 9. Measure 9, you've got some big jumps here, right? In 16th notes. You're always going back to C, D, C, no matter what's happening. So we have low C, then we jump up to middle, C, D, C, down to D, C, D, C, and now D sharp. D sharp, same as E flat. Okay, thumb, 1, 2, and the bottom side key. However, that's a lot of hand traveling, especially on bass clarinet. If we're going to go D, C, D, C, D sharp, da, dun, dun, E, that's a lot of movement, a whole lot of hand movement that could just cause us to slow down. And right now at this tempo, you could do that. But when we get it to the tempo that it's asked for, can't do it. So here's what we're going to do instead. We're going to use an alternate fingering, a trick fingering, if you will, okay? So we have C, C, D, C, D, C, D, C. Now for the D sharp, instead of coming to the side, what we're going to do is use the 1 and 1 fingering, okay? So you're going to play thumb and 1 E, and in your right hand, first finger, okay? So C, C, D, C, D, C, D, C, 1 and 1, C, D, C, E, C, D, C, F, and then we go on and on into measure 10, okay? Little trick fingering there. Make sure that your clarinet is in alignment. If it's not in alignment, that fingering may not work for you. Sometimes you can add all of the right hand with 1 instead of just 1 and 1. But it just kind of depends on what sounds good on your instrument. I know on the buffets, one fingering works better than the other. If you're on a Selmer, a fingering may work better than the other. If you're on a Yamaha, a fingering may work better than the other. Bass clarinets, in certain things, are really not level across the different brands and across the different makes. They have their own way of doing things. There's a lot of little levers and buttons and things and bridges and stuff that attaches to each other, and they each have their own great way of doing it. So you need to know your instrument, the type of the instrument that you have. I'm on a buffet, so I know how my instrument works. I know on Selmers, sometimes they're a little bit different. Most of you good 6A high schools out there are going to have either a buffet or a Selmer. So try out all those fingerings and see which one works best for you, okay? The last thing I want to talk about in this video on this etude is the cantabile section. It looks like cantabile. It's pronounced cantabile. It's Italian, okay? It basically means singing, or it's a little song. So here you are trotting along with your fast stuff, tia ta ta tia ta 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 ta, and there's just this really nice little bopping thing, and you're bopping along and everything's great, and then you get to this little song, right? What's gonna happen? Either you're going in your brain to say, oh, this is a pretty song, I'm going to go really slow and blow my face. And my lips are gonna stop working and I can't finish the etude. Or you're gonna go, oh, it's long notes, I hate long notes, I'm just gonna skip the half notes and play through them really fast and not count. And then your judges are gonna go, this kid doesn't know how to count. So you have to make sure that you give each note its full set of life, okay? You have to give it its full length. And even though the style changes, the tempo does not. The tempo does not change in this, okay? So as you're going along, you need to have your metronome going. And let's speed this up a little bit just to hear how it fits in, okay? So let's go a little faster. All right, so measure 15, okay? 1 ta ta 2, 3 ta ta 4, 1, breathe. Ta 4 ta 1, ta 4 ta 1, ta 2, off. Did you notice what I did there? On that half note that's tied to the 8th note, you saw me count to 5, right? Those of you who were brought up in pulsing land, that's 5 pulses. Up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up, down, rest, okay? You can't short these long notes their life. It's not going to work. It's going to sound like you don't know how to count. And you do know how to count, it's just sometimes we're a little bit lazy when it comes to playing the long notes. Don't be lazy, okay? Make sure that every one of your notes gets its full length. All right, now I'm going to stop this video for now because the next thing I want to talk about is playing altissimo on a low clarinet, and that is a whole subject on itself, and I don't want to make this 12-minute video turn into a 30-minute video because of it, because there's a lot to talk about playing altissimo. Even you contras, there's a spot in here you gotta go above high C. Oh my gosh, I hope you have an instrument that'll do it. Okay, so I'm gonna let you go on this one for right now, but in the meantime, be nice, be lovely, be wonderful, be kind to one another. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.